Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers are advised that the following program contains images and voices of people who've died. What will you remember 2017 for? The happy moments or the sad ones? The kids who achieved amazing things or the ones that amazed us with their stories? Well, today we're going to find out as we take a look back at a big year of BTN. Hi, Nathan here and welcome to the last BTN for 2017. Also on today's show, we'll reveal the winner of the BTN Teacher Awards. That'll be up later, but to kick us off, here's a look at some of the biggest stories that made headlines here in Australia this year.
Welcome to 2017, the year bucket loads of Australian politicians discovered they weren't actually Australian, or weren't just Australian, or something like that. So far, 9 MPs have had to go, and there could be more. The rest have just had to fill out a questionnaire on their background, so it'll soon be sorted once and for all. Probably. The other big topic in Parliament this year was same-sex marriage. After a heap of debate, the government put the idea of legalising same-sex marriage to the Australian population in a survey.
For the national result, yes responses, 7,817,247.
61.6% of the more than 12 million Australians who took part voted yes. It's also been a year of pretty crazy weather. It started with serious bushfires in New South Wales. Then Cyclone Debbie hit northern Queensland, affecting thousands. Technology provided a few ups and downs. People flocked to the World Solar Challenge.
We've all put a lot of hard work into this car.
We got a fancy new $10 note to keep our other fancy new note, the $5 note, company. Hooray! And we said goodbye to Australia's car industry as the final Holden factory closed its doors in Elizabeth. There were some important anniversaries, including 50 years since the 1967 referendum, which saw the majority of Australians vote to change our country's laws to count Indigenous Australians as full citizens. And in February, we reflected on the 75 years since Darwin was bombed by Japan during the Second World War, the biggest ever attack on Australian soil. It's been a pretty great year for Aussie sport. The AFL Women's League kicked off and was a huge success. The men's comp was amazing, especially if, like me, you're a Tigers fan. The Richmond Tigers won their first premiership since 1980 in spectacular fashion. Go Tigers! It wasn't all about AFL though. Melbourne Storm won the NRL premiership. The Socceroos qualified for their 4th straight World Cup. And #1 NBA draft pick, Ben Simmons, took the league by storm. The Ashes started out pretty well for us Aussies too, but it's a bit too early to weigh in on that. We'll let you know next year. Unless we lose. Then we'll pretend it never happened.
Throughout today's show, we're also going to test you on how much you are paying attention to the news this year with a 15-question super quiz. The answers are given after each question and there are heaps of clues throughout the show too. Good luck. Okay, question 1. Why have lots of Australian politicians been thrown out of office this year? Is it bad behaviour, dual citizenship, or vote recounts? The answer is dual citizenship. Question 2. This year it was decided that climbing which famous Australian landmark should be banned? The answer there is Uluru. Question 3. Which big car brand closed its last manufacturing plant in Australia this year? Was it Volkswagen, Kia or Holden? And of course that was Holden. Question 4. Which everyday utility had politicians and the public talking the most this year? That was electricity. Question 5. This year marked the 75th anniversary of which famous Australian campaign during World War II? That was Kokoda, and we marked it with a VR experience you can download now.
Australia is at war.
Now, this year there were a lot of stories that got the whole world talking too. Here's a look back at some of the biggest international stories of 2017.
The year kicked off with this guy becoming the 45th President of the United States.
Together, we will make America great again.
And it wasn't long until his actions made the news.
His controversial executive order, one that bars 134 million people from 7 Muslim-majority countries from coming to the United States.
He also had a pretty awkward phone call with our PM and had some pretty strong words for North Korea's leader, who got world leaders angry after testing a bunch of nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, in Catalonia, there were big protests when the region voted to break away from Spain. And over in Zimbabwe, the president, Robert Mugabe, resigned, and the streets were filled with celebrations. Some events that made headlines were hard to hear about, like terrorist attacks in Manchester, London and the Middle East, and a big shooting in the US city of Las Vegas. Natural disasters were seen all over the globe too, with huge hurricanes slamming the Caribbean islands, Florida and Texas, and massive earthquakes hitting Iran and Mexico. But in all this devastation, we saw people come together to lend a helping hand and be there to support each other through the tough times. Then there were the events that were out of this world, like the Cassini spacecraft ending its 20-year journey after helping us discover heaps of new things about Saturn and its moons, a solar eclipse that wowed people in the US, and NASA astronauts celebrated the 200th ISS spacewalk. Sticking with the good news stories, the hole in the ozone layer is the smallest it's been in 3 decades. And witches, wizards and maybe some muggles too celebrated 20 years since the release of the first Harry Potter book. Whew, what a year!
Okay, question 6 now. Which country swore in a former reality TV star as its president this year? That was the United States, and as we mentioned before, his name is Donald Trump. Question 7. Which small, isolated country regularly threatened nuclear war during 2017? That was North Korea, and this is where it's located. Question 8. Which of these places have been threatened by North Korea this year? Australia, Guam, Japan, or all of the above? The answer? Yep, it's the last one, all of them. Question 9. Where did these demonstrations take place after an independence vote? We'll accept the region, Catalonia, or the country, Spain. Question 10. The Cassini spacecraft was deliberately crashed into which planet this year? Was it Mercury, Neptune, or Saturn? The answer there is Saturn. Next up, the biggest stars of our show are always the kids that are brave enough to open up their lives to all of us. Here's a look at just some of the kids that moved us, made us laugh, or made us think this year.
Well, first of all, whoever said kids weren't interested in politics clearly hasn't been talking to the same kids we have. We met 9-year-old Levi, who's part of a group of young people suing US President Donald Trump over his environmental policies. And Meg from Victoria helped convince big supermarket chains to ditch single-use disposable shopping bags.
Coles and Woolworths have put a price on single-use plastic bags.
Your eco-friendly undertakings didn't stop there. One school began a war on waste in their local community.
Wake up and smell the coffee.
Recycle! And another embarked on a mission to reduce their school's rubbish to one wheelie bin a week. Speaking of classrooms, this year BTN met a bunch of you who do school a bit differently. We learned all about School of the Air, and we met some regional students doing classes in virtual reality.
Instead of going to a high school class, I go to the library and log on to my Aurora class via my laptop.
Overseas, we saw the lengths some children have to go to just to get to school, trekking through the ice and snow. And we met some Aussie expats getting an education over in the Middle East.
It's actually very safe here, and people are very friendly.
Some of you had to worry about keeping safe when disaster struck. Gabby and Bella had to take an unexpected holiday when Hurricane Irma hit the US.
It made me feel frightened because I realized I could have lost my whole house.
And kids on Guam had to practice emergency drills when the territory was threatened by North Korea.
Everybody has to bring emergency kits with food and water and towels.
Back home, people joined forces to fight bushfires.
My mum and dad helped save my friend's home from being burnt down.
And a long hot drought in Queensland finally ended.
It's really green and we've got plenty of food for the cows.
Aussie kids also shared personal stories this year that warmed our hearts. Xander described what it's like to live with albinism.
The best thing to do is to stand up for yourself and say, albinos are cool.
Archer explained the challenges of living with epilepsy, and Tess told us about life after her spinal cord injury.
I'm so proud of myself for where I am today.
When it comes to tech, you had your finger on the digital pulse this year. Yuma told us about his app business. Our rookie reporter superstar Ness showed us around the International Space Conference and interviewed the head of NASA.
Hello, Robert.
How are you, Ness? Good to meet you.
You're also super creative, from songs about life on the farm.
Every year the story is the same. We plant the seed into the ground and look unto the sky for rain.
To keeping a traditional Irish language alive through music. And recording phrases in Wiradjuri for an art installation. We met Mallory, who's just published her first novel, and a bunch of you helped us welcome new Australians to the country by drawing pictures and writing messages for our welcome book. You've been pretty active in 2017 too. Rock climber and Olympic hopeful Leah showed us what she's made of, and so did some of the first boys in the country to take up synchronised swimming. And how could we forget Oliver, the youngest pilot to fly solo around Australia? It's certainly been a high-flying year for kids all over Australia, right here on BTN.
Okay, time for our last 5 questions now. Question 11. Which new women's sporting comp opened with big ratings and huge crowds in 2017? It was the AFL's new women's comp and Adelaide won the grand final. Question 12. Which toy took playgrounds around the world by storm? It was fidget spinners. Question 13. Which popular kids book turned 20 this year? We gave you the answer earlier. It's Harry Potter.
Question 14. Which song this year became the most streamed in history? It was Despacito, and it broke the record with 4.6 billion streams in just 6 months. And finally, what is the name of the book released this year that was illustrated entirely by Australian kids? That was The Welcome Book, and those illustrators were you guys, our wonderful audience. Thanks for taking part. Now, all of us here at BTN have a story about a special teacher that made a big difference to us as a kid. It might be because they helped us to improve, made us laugh, or just seemed to get us when others didn't. That's why this year we introduced the BTN Teacher Awards to give you a way to recognise a special teacher in your life. All up, we received more than 300 entries, so thank you to all the kids that entered a nomination and to all of their teachers for doing such an amazing job. We narrowed it down to our 8 favourites before sending them to our special judges, Federal Education Minister Simon Birmingham, New South Wales local hero and star of WooTube, Eddie Wu, and the ABC's Head of Education, Annabelle Asprey. Take a look.
Hello BTN, my name is Connor and my teacher is called Mrs. Murray, and I'm going to tell her use all the amazing things she does. She is actually the DJ of our school. That's saying something. She built noughts and crosses table, but then a reading area, yoga and a fairy garden cafe. That's pretty awesome.
I nominate Miss Hilton because she makes learning fun. We do lots of dancing, we do lots of games. Every morning we get to do our sensory gym and we get to climb and play in the ball pit. Miss Hilton is a marvellous teacher and we are very happy to have her here in this class.
Our teacher is Mr. Rowley, and this is why he should be Teacher of the Year.
You're all a bunch of geese.
He's going bald and we can see his scalp,
Which shows he has nothing to hide.
He blends in with the students because he can't grow facial hair.
Mum, come quick! I'm doing some hair! Finally, I get to use these tweezers I bought 4 years ago.
What's brown and sticky?
A stick.
We know that Mr. Rowley deserves the Teacher of the Year award.
And if he wins, he might get a pay rise. Something he desperately needs.
Hello BTN, I'm here to give my teacher, Mr. Thode, a lovely reward. I'm just a bit nervous here. Yeah, he's a good, very, very good teacher.
We love Frank because he is kind, supportive, caring, and we also love his dad cringy jokes.
I like Frank because he's got a beard.
And that's our teacher, Frank!
When we started this topic, Russell brought in a book named The Great Escape of the Rebel Gang. The book was a picture story book that Russell made as a kid. Me and my friends really enjoyed this session, and not just because we got to see a picture of Russell when he was a kid.
A big thumbs up right through that video. It's clear that Russell is inspiring and changing the way you think about learning, as well as inspiring you to learn so much more.
Today I will be talking to you about my teacher nomination, Mrs. Linden from Unley Primary School. She has been almost my mentor throughout my schooling life. She has helped me in maths, English, history, whatever, but she also taught me a lot of social lessons, how to almost fit in but still stand out, because everyone is different and everyone needs to embrace that.
What that shows to me is that Mrs. Linden is a teacher who obviously has a lasting impact. Her former students said that she was a mentor to him.
She's obviously made a really lasting impact on him, and even though he's not in her class anymore, he remembers how much of a personal care and respect she had for him, and the way that she looked after him and nurtured his gifts. So well done, Mrs. Linden.
Huge congrats from all of us, Mrs. Linden, and what an amazing nomination from Ethan. We'll be in touch shortly to organise delivery of your prize pack, kindly donated by the ABC shop. Now let's keep the celebrations going with a look at all the fun we had making BTN for you in 2017.
Hit it, Samson.
When you think BTN reporter, you probably think slick, professional, and well-spoken.
I know what that is. That's the,
FOMO.
What? This year, we've made an effort to get on your level.
Hashtag squad goals. These fidgets are on point.
And communicate succinctly.
Why are you even in here? It's really weird. I mean, you can't even see what you're doing. Is that long enough?
Yeah, that's great. That's very good. And then
Sometimes we've struggled to keep a straight face.
The
first handheld devices.
Yeah, cool.
And things haven't always gone to plan.
This pie's half frozen.
Since when did you have an office?
Oh, I see.
But we've always had lots of fun. Bonbons!
That's a prop, sir. Yes, I know. Hang on. Why are you wearing flippers in the middle of a park, Matt?
And here they all are, BTN star reporters. As you can see there, they have a huge amount of fun at bringing you the news each week. They also put in a massive amount of work. So thanks to you guys for making the show what it is. But before we head off, after 10 amazing years, today will be my last episode as host of BTN.
Oh my goodness. Nathan Baisley, we had no idea and we're really upset about it, but luckily we did pre-prepare a little package. So let's have a look, shall we?
Hello, I'm Nathan Baisley. Welcome to Behind the News.
For more than 10 years, he's been the face of BTN.
Hi, Nathan here.
While some things have definitely changed, the spiky hair, the Justin Bieber look, and this incredible turn to camera.
Hello, I'm Nathan Baisley. Welcome to Behind the News.
Nathan has been a constant figure in the lives of millions of Aussie kids.
I grew up on a farm.
Nathan's originally from the farming town of Dalby in Queensland. And while he's never made a very convincing farmer, or soccer player, or skateboarder...
I got nothing.
I always wanted to be a journo because I love telling stories.
Since arriving at BTN in 2007 as a reporter, Nathan has been very serious about news.
Good evening and welcome to Real News. I'm John Johnson.
He's had a crack at being a teacher.
All settled, very good. Welcome. My name's Mr. Baisley and I will be your teacher for today.
Hosted a fake reality show, done his time in the kitchen, got totally crushed at wheelchair rugby.
Oh, exhausted.
And been clean bowled playing cricket. Through it all, Nathan's given us plenty of laughs, some questionable music.
Like this. So that's why the Reserve Bank increases interest rates. I'm such a good weatherman.
And has left his mark on the show like no other. Well, we guess you can pack it up for real this time, Nathan. Congrats, and we'll miss you.
Back to you. And that's it for today's show, and I'll see you next time. And I'll catch you then. But there is always more to see and do on our website. It has been an absolute honour bringing you the news each week, so I want to thank you for being so lovely and for supporting all the great things this show does. BTN will be back bigger and better than ever next year with a new host to meet too, so make sure you tune in for that. But in the meantime, have an amazing Christmas, a fun summer holidays, and these guys are excited to see you again in 2018.
Happy holidays!
Bye!